I'd like to welcome you to the North Ridgeville City Schools Board of Education meeting. And at this time, I would like us to all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Yancey.
Here.
Mrs. McCarthy.
Here.
Mrs. Saxon.
Here.
Mrs. Tamira.
Here.
Mr. Vaca.
We'll move on to the finalization of agenda. Are there any items to add or delete to the agenda this evening?
The agenda is final as presented.
Thank you. Approval of minutes. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the written summary of the special and regular minutes for the meetings on August 4th, 2020, August 6th, 2020, August 10th, August 13th, August 18th, and August 19th, 2020.
Moved.
Second. Moved by Mrs. Tamira, seconded by Mrs. Yetsey. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tamira.
Yes.
Mrs. Yancey.
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy.
Yes.
And Mrs. Saxon.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
We now move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you so much. We have 2 items tonight under the superintendent's report. As you are familiar, each year we like to go through each of our buildings and hear from the building leadership team or building principal about what's going on in our buildings across the district. Tonight we are hearing from Principal Andrea Vance about what is going on at ECLC. I will turn it over to Mrs. Vance, who is going to share her screen with us.
Thank you so much, and I'm so honored to be here tonight, in not in person, but still here. I have the pleasure tonight of being able to present a video that I feel like reflects our building and our start to the school year. We have really been focusing a lot on continuing the implementation of our PBIS with Ranger Strong, and this year our PBIS committee really looked to see how we could explain to our 3 to 5 year olds what social distancing looks like, and being able to wear a mask and things of that nature. So we had a committee of several of our teachers and our counselor who has spearheaded that, who came up with ways to do that. And you'll see in the video that I'm going to present to you in just a few minutes, it'll show you different ways that we did that with using dots around the building that students can stand on, and other fun things, so that it wasn't something that the students were coming back to where it wasn't exciting for them and fun for the school year. And a special thank you to Gretchen Herzberger. She put this video together. I always say that I have like the vision, but not the piece to like whip it together so quickly. So special thank you to her for this wonderful video that you guys are getting ready to see. So you will see just from the video, we really tried to make a lot of the signs very kid-friendly for the kids. One of the things that we did this year as a committee is update those signs to reflect the mask wearing. At our recess time, we are having students break off into groups and other parts of equipment. They're still getting to do those same fun activities, but just in smaller groups and rotating. And then you can see like the dot to dot 6 feet apart. The kids really love being able to stand on those dots. And I just wanted to say a special thank you to parents or guardians. Our kids are so resilient, and this year has been a true testament to that. The kids have come in ready to learn. They're excited, and I just appreciate all the parents' support with having their kids come in with masks. Honestly, it's been like clockwork for the kids, where they come in and they're not giving us those issues. And throughout the day, the kids are able to have their mask breaks, which you could see in the video, but they really have done a really good job with that. So I really can't ask for anything more than that. I would just like to say a special thank you to the committee: Sherry Biscup, Valerie Groff, Carla Ponting, Leslie Glace, Sherry Bykoski, Emily Connor, excuse me, she just got married, Kelsey Rogers, Sharon Van Trulen, and Rebecca Jane, and then of course Gretchen Herzberger, who put that video together for us tonight. So are there any questions?
Thank you very much for your leadership. Thank you. Very well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Vance.
Thank you.
Okay, our second report this evening is along these same lines, and all of our building principals, like Mrs. Vance, have had to do a tremendous amount of work to get ready for the start of the school year, and really put some things in place that, depending on building, were very unique to the needs of each of those children. But while this school year did not begin like any other, I can confidently say that it was one of the best starts that I've witnessed in my 20 years in education, and I'm very proud to say that tonight. And this was not by accident. It was due in large part to the work of many people who worked behind the scenes. And these people do not often receive a lot of recognition for their quiet yet very important work. So I want to recognize a few people tonight for the board and for the community, beginning with Seth Perry and his maintenance and custodial and cleaning team. Since March, this team began securing materials to keep our buildings safe and clean for when staff and students could re-enter our learning spaces. Additionally, this team quite literally has rearranged our school district. They shuffled the appropriate size furniture into new spaces to accommodate physical distancing. while planning a complete overhaul in procedures to clean and sanitize our buildings and grounds. So huge thanks to Mr. Perry and his entire team. Next, I want to recognize Tammy Kesmerick and her staff. I know some are logged in with us tonight. After learning what adjustments needed to be made in order to meet the governor's guidelines for reopening schools, Tammy and her team immediately began rerouting students to keep our kids properly distanced on school buses. In addition, this team worked to geographically divide our community into 2 groups in order to accommodate our hybrid learning plan. In a growing community, this was no easy task. Yet our students can still enjoy a short ride to and from school with students of similar age. Thank you, Tammy, and thank you to your team. Next, I recognize Eric Buhner and the entire food service team. Again, since March, this team of dedicated staff members prepared meals for our families throughout the shutdown and throughout the entire summer. Families were provided a healthy breakfast and lunch with the help of our staff who volunteered their time. Thank you to Kim Ulrich for coordinating these volunteers. The food service team continues to provide meals to our students who are attending both person and remotely, and they're getting that food into the hands of those people at home. So thank you to Eric and his team. And finally, to Sam Amin, who sits in the back corner. Communication is critical at all times, and even more so during a global pandemic. Sam kept our community engaged throughout the end of the school year with important updates and learning information. In addition, Sam shared the good news from our classrooms and throughout the district on social media and continues to keep our families updated. Thank you, Sam. It is important to recognize the tremendous amount of work the staff put into creating a safe learning environment for all. Make no mistake, there are several others, including cabinet members, building administrators, secretaries, nurses, paraprofessionals, the Board of Education, and of course our teaching staff, who all worked incredibly hard to arrange and rearrange plans to accommodate the unique start to the 2021 school year. I am eternally grateful to work alongside the staff. I cannot say it enough, but we are truly fortunate. The entire NRCS staff has gone above and beyond to meet the needs of our families and students, and this pandemic has brought our team together to continue to strengthen the North Ridgeville community. Together, we are Ranger Strong. I thank you, and this concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to move on to announcements. Does anyone have any announcements this evening? I have one. This evening will be Mr. East's last meeting with us, unfortunately. We do have his resignation as interim treasurer on the board agenda this evening. Mr. East, we want to thank you very much for all that you've brought to us this since you've been here in January. It's been a unique situation with our renewal. You helped us get an important message out to the community, and that was a vital issue that we so fortunately passed with your help, and just during the unique time of not being able to speak to people face to face. So we appreciate that so much, and all that you've done for us and continue to do, because you'll still be here for what, 15 more days, right?
That's correct.
You're counting.
Yes.
But we really do appreciate all that you've brought, and we hope that you will not be a stranger to North Ridgeville. And thank you very much on behalf of the Board of Education.
Thank you for those kind comments. I appreciate that. It's been a great pleasure to work here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And at this time, we will have hearing of the public on agenda items. So Mr. Hieronymus is in charge of unmuting anyone who would like to speak at this time. He'll give you the instructions and tell you what you need to do.
So with only 21 people in the conference today, we have decided to just unmute the microphone, give people the ability to unmute their microphones. If anyone would like to address the board, you're welcome to unmute your microphone. Please state your name and your address. Okay, it looks like we are silent on that one, so we will turn back on the muting.
Thank you. We will now, it is now recommended that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda resolution as presented.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Yetsey, seconded by Mrs. McCarthy. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Yetsey,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
and Mrs. Saxon.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
We now move to the Finance and Audit report. Mrs. McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. We have 4 items this evening to consider. First is our typical financial report and report of interest and investments for August 2020. We also have an amended certificate of estimated resources and the appropriation resolution for fiscal year 21. We have the transfer of funds to the technology fund. From the general fund to the technology fund and the extended school year program fund. And finally, we have the restated plan document of the district's 403B retirement plan, originally authorized January 27th, 1977, effective January 1st, 2020. I move to approve the finance audit report items in one reading. Second.
Moved by Mrs. McCarthy, seconded by Mrs. Tamira. Is there any discussion this evening? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mrs. Yetsey,
Yes.
and Mrs. Saxon.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
We will now move on to other board business. Mrs. Tamira.
Thank you. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the North Ridgeville City School is unable to offer CTE programming at the middle school level for the 2021 school year. It is our full intent to return to CTE offerings to the middle school level as soon as possible. As such, and in order to meet the timelines established by the Ohio Department of Education, I recommend the passage of the CTE waiver in one reading.
Moved by Mrs. Tamira, seconded by Mrs. McCarthy. Is there any discussion?
Just for clarification purposes, CTE stands for Career Technical Education. In case anyone out there is
Yes.
unfamiliar with all the tech terms that we throw around.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Yetsey,
Yes.
and Mrs. Saxon.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
We have a policy committee report. Mrs. McCarthy.
Thank you again. This is the first reading of a new and revised policy hosted by Neola. The policy committee has reviewed and made edits to this policy. It's in need of an update to reflect the most current laws and district practices. The second reading of the policy and consideration for approval will be on the October 6th, 2020 board agenda. And this is policy 5200 for attendance.
For the human resources report, we have a few items to consider. 1, certified staff leave replacement. 4, special projects supplemental contracts. 13, supplemental contracts. 2, support staff substitute appointments. 1, recognition of an unpaid volunteer. 7, certified staff adjustments. 1, support staff adjustment. 1, administrative staff resignation. 1, certified staff resignation. 1, support staff resignation. I move to approve the human resources items in one reading.
Second.
Moved by myself, seconded by Mrs. McCarthy. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Yetsey,
Yes.
and Mrs. Tamira.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
At this time, it is the hearing of the public on new items. So if the public has anything that they would like to address the Board of Education about, this would be your opportunity right now.
So we've given everyone the ability to unmute their microphones. If anyone would like to address the board, please go ahead and unmute your microphone, state your name and your address. Alrighty, we'll go ahead and re-enable the muting of the microphones and back to the board.
Thank you. It is recommended that the Board of Education adjourn this regular meeting.
Vote.
Second.
Moved by Mrs.
I'm sorry, I had a question. I'm sorry. I don't think I had a chance to unmute.
Okay, yes, can you please state your name and your
Sure.
address, please?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Pablo Mitchell, and I live at 9072 Ichabod Drive, and I have two high school students. And my question, if you'll address it, is what metrics you are using to decide when to return to full in-person schooling?
I can try to address that.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Sure, Mr. Mitchell. This is Roxanne Casario, Superintendent. Right now, our metrics would be solely based on any recommendations from the Ohio Department of Health as well as the Governor's Office. Right now, due to the guidelines that are currently in place, we are working to maintain those guidelines, and when we are given the ability to relax those guidelines, we would be entertaining a full return, and certainly we would like to do that as soon as possible.
Okay, I guess I'm wondering, do you mind if I ask a follow-up question?
I don't.
Thanks. I'm wondering how those, it seems that other school districts, adjacent school districts are opening in person, Avon Lake, Midview, and so on. And so I'm wondering then how your interpretation differs from theirs of the governor's guidelines.
Well, I cannot speak to other school districts in the way that they interpret the guidelines. What I can tell you is that North Ridgeville City Schools is following the guidelines exactly as they were presented. As you are well aware, we are under a restraint in terms of our current space, and that is providing us an additional challenge. It's something that we are certainly working through. Mr. Mitchell, I would encourage you to give me a call, and we can certainly have further discussion about this at your convenience.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
So we had a motion that was moved and seconded on the table to adjourn the regular meeting. It was moved by Mrs. Tamura, seconded by Mrs. McCarthy, that the Board of Education adjourn this regular meeting. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tamura,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Yetsey, and Mrs. Saxon.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.
Final roll call.